My movie maker.
Hi everybody. This is a video that I am hopefully going to be able to send to anybody that I want to express what my experiences have been like in the past year or so with regard to my breakdown, to explain it a little bit. And I apologize for the camera, that it's probably not angled right, but I'm blind, so I can't really angle the camera. I mean, I can sort of, but that's not really a priority right now, is just to do this video. So I have had a pretty good, I have had mental health struggles for a while. By for a while, I mean my whole life. But in the past 6 or so years, in the past 3 or 4 years, I've gotten really much better. Let's see, I originally lived in Massachusetts all my life, and I moved to Chicago to live at a place for the blind in 2012. In 2013, I had a attempt at a suicide attempt. Nothing happened. And then I couldn't live at the place for the blind anymore because the mental health part of it was getting too much for them. And, as people know who have multiple disabilities, you basically have to choose what disability gets attention and care. And you often have to, you're getting pushed around the system because no one can take both issues or whatever, multiple issues. After that, it took a while to find a place for me because they were discriminating against me being blind. I moved to a place called Albany Care, and that was in a suburb of Chicago. And I lived there. I was very suicidal. I was self-harming. I was not in a good place. Really a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety and cutting, and scratching. And so then I really got in a good relationship with the clinical director there. He was my therapist, and I also just really connected with staff. And over the next 4 years, really got myself into a good place.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Love you.
Love you. Don't forget, you became friends with me.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And then I also became friends with this wonderful lady, Jess. She just said hi to me, which I wasn't planning to have in this video, but hey, what the heck. I love her. We are like partners, sisters, whatever. We got ourselves back on track. She has similar issues to me, so she is like my life. We're like soulmates, not sexual, but anyway. So anyway, I did a really good job there, and towards the end, I felt really confident about moving back to Massachusetts or someplace back east. I really wanted to get back to the mental health culture over there because there really isn't much out here in the Midwest, at least in my opinion. So I decided to, I came back east for a conference, and that was cool. And then we were going to move to a new facility anyways because we wanted a smaller place. There was like 400 people, and we wanted a smaller facility. So in December 2017, I had a huge panic attack. I felt like it was being attacked from the outside in, and as if this force was trying to kill me. And after that, I was not the same. My hearing got really intense, sounds got really sharp, senses got really sharp, or they were really kind of fuzzy and far away. I had trouble speaking. I had trouble pronouncing words in general. I had trouble trying to come up with a response when someone said something to me. This happened for 4 months after this panic attack. I would feel like my hands were detached from my body or someone else was controlling my body. I had blackouts where I would just have no awareness of myself, no awareness of what I was doing, what was going on. To me, I would be okay, and then the next minute, it could be hours, it could be minutes, it could be almost full days that this was going on. And this was after this panic attack in December that actually happened in front of my therapist, that director person I was talking about. He didn't really know what to do. He just kind of let it happen and said it was going to run its course and it would be fine. That following week, I had a session with him where I felt totally outside of my body, like I was across the room, and I have a recording of that session, which I would be happy to share with anyone that would like to hear it. I would like to hear other people's views on what's going on with me, because I want to know. During that recording, I was speaking in different voices and saying I was these different people. And ever since then, that was what was going on, like I said, for 4 months. And unfortunately, the good times at this facility ended because the director didn't know what to do. It was a whole long story. I was hospitalized, even though I was not in any danger. I was not doing anything to anybody. I was just not in my head. I was hospitalized. It was really weird hospitalization. Anyway, so I had to leave Albany Care at that point because it was ridiculous. So I had to wait. From December to March, I had these symptoms of the speaking, having trouble listening, and it would be off and on. Sometimes I would be fine talking. Sometimes I would be fine listening. Sometimes I wouldn't. Textures would be fine, and then textures would be terrible. My senses and my brain was just all over the place. Some people that know me think that it is an autistic traits, which it could be. No one's ever really explored that with me, but in the past, when I've thought about it, there were some definite social issues that I've had that go way beyond awkwardness around being blind. And those social issues, I think it is something else. And with regards to the blackouts, people are saying, I had friends before all this that are multiple, and people were saying it's multiplicity. I have other friends that were saying that it was a shamanic issue, a spiritual issue. These are friends that are shamans and spiritualist ministers. And so they were saying from that end of things. Somehow, from when I left Albany Care to when I moved to this Clayton House place, the day I moved, the sensory symptoms stopped and the speaking symptoms stopped. But I still had the blackouts big time. And I still had the acting as if I were these other people. And saying I was these different names, and honey, a 5-year-old, an adult one, and a couple others that I had no idea on. And also I was having feelings that spoke to abuse that I don't believe I ever physically experienced. And so my friends that are shamans worked with me on that wavelength and actually made sense of a lot of it on that wavelength, that they believed I had psychic abilities, or whatever you want to call the ability to be in touch with the non-physical, spiritual, whatever. Having no spirituality my whole life, this is a very difficult framework for me to mentally grasp. So is having a dissociative disorder, because I don't feel I've had the trauma or the setup in my life to cause that to happen. And unfortunately, this place that I'm living in kind of talked up their services, and once I got in the door, they kind of backed off on some things they promised. They basically said, we're trauma informed, we can help you, everything else will help you find therapists, we'll do this, we'll do that. But then in the end, it was all about, they were like, oh no, we're not actually, they didn't say they're not trauma informed. They said, we don't really do that type of stuff. Like, if you want something done, you need to do it. We don't really work with you. We kind of just coach you. And this weird stuff about saying they're like a blank slate and weird things. So I was left alone to continue, as I had since this breakdown happened, to be doing this myself, while at the same time living in these facilities where you would think I'd be getting some solid care. And, at least in the beginning, the caseworkers and staff at least sort of tried to listen. It didn't go very far because my mind was all over the place and they really couldn't keep up. And they, in a way, didn't want to. When, my huge connection was that therapist director. And once he got kind of off the case and didn't feel able to help, nobody did. But that wasn't the case for the past 4 or 5 years. I don't fault him for it. He was going through a whole lot of stuff. He still cares about me very much, and I may actually visit to pick up my records at some point. But anyway, this was supposed to be a short video, but obviously, never mind. So I am here, and so anyways, my friends that were the shamans really helped in that framework, but I couldn't mentally grasp it. So we did a lot of work, and they did a lot of healing, which I won't go into because I'm sure it probably is triggering, but if people want to know exactly what was done, I can tell them. It worked very well. I trust them very much. And it did stop the blackouts. It stopped the blackouts and it stopped the panic attacks, which was huge. But it didn't stop the blackouts entirely. Like, for a while I thought it was okay, but then it started happening again, and that's when I got really upset on it. And I also got really tired of other sensory things that they had labeled as good things that I was experiencing, good things being in touch with, the spiritual realm, and that I just felt like I couldn't handle it anymore. So I decided I knew that my meds were off, that basically I knew I needed an antipsychotic, and I ended up finally saying the right stuff for them to give me one. And that has helped with a lot of the extrasensory perception stuff. So that has gone down. I still have blackouts. I still have this 5-year-old character roaming around in my head, and I don't know. My psychiatrist at this facility, that comes to this facility, does not believe I have a dissociative disorder. He says I'm not dissociating enough. He thinks that all of this, including what I said is psychosis, is just complicated anxiety and depression, which is so demeaning because it's like, no, this is not anxiety and depression that I've ever heard of. This is something very serious, and I need help. It's like I am living in here paying $700, $711 to be exact, for this, and so I need help. Why aren't you helping? But it's just, I could talk myself blue in the face on it, and I'm not going to. To them and whatever anymore, because it's just ridiculous. I am working very hard to try and move out. I want to do it safely. My family is concerned about me as a blind person, making sure I live in a safe environment, and I don't want to be in an unsafe environment, and at least this place is physically safe. It's mentally, they're trying their best, and they believe their way is the right way, and, but I want better for myself. I want to get this under control. I want to be the person I was before all this happened. I was so confident. I was so ready to move on. I was so good. My meds were stable, everything was stable, and then I had this panic attack, and it turned my mind and body upside down, and I can't for the life of me figure out why and what is going on. So that's why I'm making this video, to hopefully say more concisely than in other videos what I've been going through, and maybe if anyone has experienced anything similar, to please let me know, and I would be really grateful. I think there's a lot of things going on here, like I was saying, the brain-based stuff. I don't know what that is, if it's like a sensory processing disorder or autistic. There is the spiritual side of it, which, I'm not sure quite what I believe, and, it's there, and I guess there's a way that you can see it through that lens. And then also there's the dissociation part, and the feelings of, past trauma, but that I have checked all my family, I've thought about my whole life, and I am probably like 99% sure I did not have any of that abuse. So, and then there's psychosis, and I think it's both things going on at the same time. I think there's dissociation type stuff, and then there's the experience of psychosis along with that. So, anyway, I just wanted to share this, and hopefully other people can relate, especially if I can talk with anyone who's in the New England area. That would be awesome to connect and maybe figure out a way to move faster and than what is currently happening, but in a safe way. So I hope that this helps, and I will be sending this video to people to explain rather than writing a whole long email.
Icon download. I move ribbon web stop.